Ladies and gentlemen, watch this every day and change your life. Let me tell you something that could change your life forever. Not next month, not next year, but starting today. You see, life doesn't get better by chance. It gets better by change. And change begins not out there, but in here. In your thoughts, your choices, your disciplines. Your daily habits carve the future you walk into. You don't get what you want. You get what you are. And what you are is shaped by what you do every single day. You don't have to do everything today, but you do have to do something. One push-up, one page, one phone call. That's how momentum builds. Don't wish life were easier. Develop the skills to rise to the occasion. Don't wait for motivation. Build systems and rituals that carry you forward even when you don't feel like it. Feelings are fleeting, but decisions echo. Let me remind you, it's easy to neglect. Easy to skip the workout. Easy to ignore the budget. Easy to waste the evening. But you must ask yourself, what is the cost of ease today compared to the pain of regret tomorrow? And yes, you will fail sometimes. That's called learning. Success isn't a straight line. It's a staircase built on setbacks. Just don't camp out in failure. Keep climbing. Discipline weighs ounces. Regret weighs tons. So if you're tired, rest. But don't quit. Stay in the fight. You're not buried. You're being planted. Grow. Show up with courage. Stack good days. And over time, you'll look back and realize you changed your life. Life doesn't change by chance. It changes by deliberate action. This is one of the simplest, yet most powerful truths you'll ever learn. Too many people sit around hoping for life to get better. They hope for a lucky break. They hope someone will notice them. They hope things will just work out. But hope, while comforting, is not a strategy. Change doesn't knock on your door and ask politely if you're ready. It doesn't wait until you feel good or until the timing is perfect. Change comes to those who are bold enough to chase it. Intentionally, daily, and with purpose. The people who create meaningful, lasting transformation in their lives aren't lucky. They're disciplined. They've stopped wishing and started building. They've learned that small, consistent action beats big, inconsistent dreams every time. You don't need to flip your entire life upside down in a day. You just need to decide. Decide that from this moment forward, you will no longer live on autopilot. You will no longer drift. You will steer. Look around at your current life. Every result you see. Your health, your finances, your relationships, your mindset. Those are all outcomes of past choices. Some were conscious. Some were unconscious, but they were yours. And if you want different outcomes in the future, it starts with different choices now. Deliberate action means you're no longer reactive to life. You become proactive. You no longer let emotions dictate whether or not you do what needs to be done. You operate from commitment, not convenience. From clarity, not confusion. This doesn't mean every day will be easy. It won't be. Philosophy of the poor. Some days you'll feel like quitting. Some days you'll wonder if it's worth it. But that's where the breakthrough lies. On the other side of doubt, of discomfort, of the urge to give up. That's where transformation waits, not for the perfect version of you, but for the committed one. When you take deliberate action, you tell life, I'm not a spectator. I'm a participant. I'm not going to wait for better. I'm going to become better. You set your alarm earlier. You turn off distractions. You show up even when no one is watching. And with each small step, you prove to yourself that you're not who you used to be. You're becoming who you were meant to be. Don't gamble your future on luck or fate. Bet on effort. Bet on consistency. Bet on the daily disciplines that feel small today, but will shape everything tomorrow. Remember this, life rewards action, not intention. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to have all the answers. You just need to start. Then stay. Then grow. Because life doesn't change by chance. It changes the moment you do. Daily habits shape who you become. Small wins lead to big transformations. It's easy to underestimate the power of a single day, one morning, one decision, one habit. But the truth is, the life you dream of isn't built overnight. It's built over time, in silence, through your daily routines. Not the grand, dramatic moments, not the once-in-a-while efforts, but the small, quiet choices you make when no one is watching. Those are the bricks that build your future. Daily habits shape who you become. Not your goals, not your dreams, not your inspiration. You could be the most motivated person in the world, but without the discipline to act on it consistently, that energy fades. What you do repeatedly becomes what you are deeply. You don't become successful by thinking about success. You become successful by acting like it. Bit by bit, every single day. And here's the beautiful part. You don't need to do anything massive today. You just need one small win. Make your bed. Go for that walk. Read 10 pages. Make one healthy meal. Speak kindly to someone. Say no to the thing you usually say yes to but regret. These things seem insignificant in the moment, but added up over weeks, months, and years, they create radical transformation. See, the people you admire, the ones who seem like they've made it, didn't get there by luck. They got there through layers of consistent action, habits, rituals, daily standards, the philosophy of the poor. They became who they are not by doing something once, the poor, but by doing something over and over until it became a part of their identity. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Think about it. If you practiced just one new skill for 15 minutes a day, where would you be in a year if you pour? If you invested just 30 minutes a day into your health, your mindset, your relationships, how different would your life look? That's the power of compound effort. Small wins, compounded with consistency, lead to big breakthroughs. But here's the catch. The effects aren't always instant. That's why most people quit. They expect fireworks. They expect applause. But change doesn't come with a drum roll. It comes quietly, like sunrise. Barely noticeable at first, then suddenly it's everywhere. Your energy shifts. Your confidence builds. Your environment evolves. And before you realize it, you've become someone new. Not because you wished for it, but because you worked for it. So if today feels ordinary, if the task feels too small to matter, do it anyway. Ordinary habits, practiced with extraordinary consistency, create extraordinary lives. The philosophy of the poor. That's not just a motivational quote. It's the blueprint. One that's available to you right now. You don't have to change your entire life today. You just have to win today. Stack those wins, one habit at a time. Because small wins, repeated daily, become the foundation for massive, lasting transformation. Don't wait for motivation. Build discipline through routine. One of the biggest traps people fall into is waiting. Waiting for the right moment. Waiting for the perfect conditions. Waiting to feel inspired. And most commonly, waiting for motivation. But here's the true thing: motivation is unreliable. It comes and goes like the weather. You can't build your future on something that fluctuates with your mood or the time of day. If you only act when you feel like it, you won't get very far. Because most days, you won't feel like it. You'll feel tired. You'll feel distracted. The philosophy of the poor. You'll feel like doing anything else except the thing you know you need to do. That's not a sign that something's wrong. It's just part of being human. So what do you do instead? You build discipline. And the way you build discipline is through routine. A routine doesn't ask how you feel. It doesn't wait for inspiration. It simply says, this is what I do now. And when you show up for your routine, even on the days you don't want to, you're training something far more powerful than motivation. You're training consistency, resilience, and character. Let's be honest. Anyone can work hard when they're excited. Anyone can start something when they're hyped up by a video or a quote. But what separates those who make progress from those who don't is what happens when the excitement wears off. The achievers, the winners, the discipline, they keep going. Not because they always feel amazing, but because they've created systems in their lives that make it easier to keep showing up. A routine is a commitment you make to yourself. It's your way of saying, my goals matter more than my feelings today. And once you string enough days together, doing the right thing, whether you feel like it or not. You begin to trust yourself. You begin to see results. And then, funny enough, motivation shows up more often. Because now it has something to work with. It's not leading the process anymore. It's following your actions. Discipline is freedom. It may sound like restriction, but it's the opposite. When you live by routine, you no longer waste energy deciding every day whether or not to act. You no longer negotiate with yourself. You free your mind from indecision, and you focus your energy on progress. That's how things get done. Not in bursts of emotion, but in the quiet, determined repetition of action. So stop waiting for motivation to knock on your door. Some days it'll come. Most days it won't. But if you've built the discipline through solid, dependable routines, it won't matter. Because you'll move forward anyway. And that quiet persistence is what will separate you from the rest. Make small, consistent progress. One action a day is enough to build momentum. Why often overestimate what we can do in a short burst of effort and underestimate what we can achieve with slow, steady progress. The truth is, success isn't built on one big, life-changing move. It's built on the back of small, consistent actions, repeated day after day. There's something powerful about choosing just one meaningful action a day. One small step forward. It doesn't need to be dramatic. It doesn't need to get applause. It just needs to happen. And when it does, something begins to shift inside you. You may not see results right away. You may wonder if it's working. But here's the secret: progress isn't always visible in the beginning. What matters most early on is momentum. And momentum doesn't come from perfection. It comes from movement. Any movement. Think of a heavy train sitting idle on the tracks. It doesn't leap into full speed instantly. It lurches forward slowly, inch by inch. But once it's moving, it becomes almost unstoppable. That's how your life works, too. The hardest part is starting. The second hardest part is continuing when it feels slow or unimportant. But the longer you stay in motion, the easier it becomes to keep going. Small progress might look like writing one page, making one healthy meal, doing one workout, sending one message, learning one new idea, saving a few dollars. None of these things will transform your life in a single moment. But stacked together over time, they compound into something extraordinary. The danger is in thinking small actions aren't worth it. That just one isn't enough. But this mindset kills more dreams than failure ever will, because it convinces you that if you can't do it all now, you shouldn't do anything at all. And that's false. Doing something is always better than doing nothing. Consistency beats intensity when it comes to long-term growth. Anyone can push hard for a few days. But if you want real change, aim for sustainability. Ask yourself, what's the one thing I can do today that moves me forward, even slightly? And then do it. That's the philosophy of the poor. It doesn't need to be big. It just needs to be done. Over time, this approach rewires your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who starts and stops, and start seeing yourself as someone who follows through. That shift in self-image is everything. It changes how you show up. It builds confidence, clarity, and commitment. Remember, the seed doesn't become a tree overnight. The caterpillar doesn't become a butterfly in a day. But with time and persistence, transformation happens. Quietly at first, then all at once. So if you're feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or behind, pause. Breathe. Pick one action, just one, and do it. That's how you begin again. That's how momentum is born. And that's how your life starts to change. One small, consistent step at a time. Don't wish for things to be easier. Work on becoming stronger and more skilled. It's natural to want life to be smooth, to hope for fewer obstacles, lighter burdens, and simpler problems. But the truth is, wishing for an easier life will only lead to disappointment. The world doesn't bend to comfort us. Challenges are not optional. They are part of the process. But here's the good news. You can outgrow your problems. You can become stronger, smarter, more capable. Instead of hoping life will give you less, decide today to become someone who can handle more. Think about it, you. Every great story is built on struggle. Every strong person was once weak. Every skilled professional was once a beginner. Your job isn't to eliminate difficulty. It's to increase your ability to face it. That's how growth works. The weight doesn't get lighter, you get stronger. The work doesn't get easier, you get better at doing it. And that's where the magic lives. Not in what you avoid, but in what you overcome. The moment you stop asking, why is this so hard? And start asking, how can I get better at this? That's the moment your life begins to change. Because now, instead of resisting growth, you're chasing it. You're taking ownership. You're becoming the kind of person who meets resistance with resolve. There will always be problems. New levels bring new challenges. But those challenges aren't there to break you. They're there to build you. Every obstacle is an opportunity to sharpen your thinking, to develop resilience, to learn a new skill, to deepen your patience, to increase your value. You don't need to run from the hard stuff. You need to face it head on and let it shape you into someone powerful. This mindset shift from wishing to working frees you. It means you no longer need to wait for the stars to align or things to calm down. You simply ask yourself, what can I do today to improve? What can I learn? What can I strengthen? Because when you grow, everything around you begins to change too. And here's the best parting, it's a choice. Every day, you can choose to train your mind, your body, your discipline, your patience. You can choose to develop the tools that make challenges feel lighter. You can become someone who doesn't flinch when things get tough. Because toughness is now part of who you are. So no, don't wish for less difficulty. Don't spend your life hoping the path gets easier. Instead, focus your energy on the one thing you can control yourself. The stronger you get, the smaller your problems will feel. The more skilled you become, the more confidence you'll carry. And the more capable you are, the more freedom you'll find. Because in the end, life doesn't get easier. You just get better. Avoid the easy path today to escape the regret of tomorrow. In every moment, we're faced with a choice: take the easy way out or choose the harder path that leads to growth. It might not seem like a big deal. Skipping one workout, procrastinating on one task, putting off one hard conversation. But these small decisions shape the course of your life. What feels easy now often leads to discomfort later. And what feels uncomfortable now often creates a better, more fulfilling future. The easy path is tempting. It offers quick comfort, minimal resistance, and instant gratification. But what it hides behind its smooth surface is something far heavier: regret. And regret doesn't show up immediately. It waits. Quietly. It shows up later, when you realize you could have done more, become more, lived more fully, but didn't. Avoiding discomfort today might seem like relief, but it's a short-term fix. The real cost is delayed progress, wasted time, unused potential. And for many, that realization doesn't come until much later, when the chance to act has already passed. But here's the empowering truth: you get to decide. You get to choose the harder right over the easier wrong. You get philosophy of the poor. You get to say no to short-term ease so you can say yes to long-term purpose. You don't need to change your entire life in a day. You just need to do the thing you know you should do, even when it's uncomfortable. That might mean waking up earlier, saying no to distractions, having the discipline to keep promises to yourself, doing the work, not when you feel like it, but when you said you would. Those actions aren't glamorous, they aren't loud, but they build something incredibly valuable: self-respect. And over time, that turns into confidence, character, and freedom. The people who live without deep regret are rarely the ones who always had it easy. They're the ones who chose the harder path when it mattered. They made sacrifices. They stayed consistent. They did the uncomfortable work because they knew the cost of comfort was often their own potential. And if you've made choices you regret in the past, don't worry. You're not stuck there. That was then. This is now. Every single day is a new opportunity to choose growth over ease, purpose over passivity, Regret is not a life sentence. It's a wake-up call. You can begin again, right here, right now. So when you face a decision today, ask yourself, is this easy now but painful later? Or is this hard now and worth it later? That one question can change everything. Because the truth is, comfort today can cost you tomorrow, but discomfort today. That's the price of pride, of progress, of peace. So avoid the easy path. Not because it's wrong, but because it robs you of who you could become. Choose the harder road today and give your future self a reason to be grateful, not regretful. Failures aren't final. They're stepping stones to wisdom and success. A failure is something most people fear. It carries a heavy emotional weight. Shame, frustration, disappointment, and sometimes even the urge to quit altogether. But if you look closely, failure isn't the enemy. It's a teacher. It's feedback. It's not a signal to stop. It's a signal to grow. Some of the most successful people you admire today have failed more times than most are willing to try. What sets them apart isn't luck or talent. It's how they responded to failure. They didn't treat it as the end of the road. They treated it as part of the process. Because here's the true thing, failure is not final. It's not a life sentence. It doesn't define your worth, and it doesn't erase your potential. In fact, failure, when embraced with the right mindset, is one of the most powerful tools for growth. Every setback carries a lesson. Every mistake holds a message. The key is to pay attention. When you fail, you're given a gift most people overlook: clarity. Clarity on what doesn't work. Clarity on what needs improvement. Clarity on who you are and what you value. Sometimes failure is the very thing that strips away the noise and forces you to face the truth about your habits, decisions, or beliefs. It humbles you, refines you, and if you stay in the fight, it sharpens you. The path to success is never a straight line. It's messy. It's uncertain. It's full of trial and error. But those errors aren't wasted. They're the stepping stones to wisdom. Wisdom isn't gained from winning all the time. It's gained from falling, reflecting, and rising with a new perspective. Think of a child learning to walk. They stumble, fall, bump into furniture, cry. But they don't stop. Why? Because falling isn't failure. It's part of figuring it out. Somewhere along the way, as adults, we forget that. We start believing that if we don't get it the first time, we're not good enough. That's a lie. If you failed, it means you tried. And that already puts you ahead of everyone still stuck in fear. The only real failure is refusing to try or giving up too soon. Everything else is a lesson waiting to be learned. So don't carry your failures like baggage. Study them like textbooks. Ask, what did I learn? How can I improve? What will I do differently next time? That mindset is how you turn breakdowns into breakthroughs. You're not defined by your worst moment. You're defined by what you do after it. And if you choose to keep going, keep learning, and keep growing, your so-called failures will eventually become the foundation of your success story. Remember, you can fail and still be moving forward. In fact, failure may be the very thing you need to get where you're meant to go. So the next time you fall, don't stay down. Stand up with wisdom in your pocket and keep stepping forward. Discipline is lighter than the weight of long-term regret. Every day, you carry something, either the light burden of discipline or the heavy weight of regret. The choice is yours. Discipline might feel uncomfortable in the moment. It demands effort. It requires you to delay gratification, philosophy of the poor, to show up when you don't feel like it, to say no to what's easy and yes to what's necessary. It's not glamorous. It doesn't offer instant rewards. But make no mistake, it is light compared to what it saves you from. Regret, on the other hand, creeps in slowly. It waits. At first, you don't notice it. A skipped workout, a missed opportunity, a conversation avoided, one small compromise after another. But over time, those small compromises add up. And when they do, they carry a heaviness that's hard to shake. Regret lingers. It whispers, "What if?" in the back of your mind. It questions your choices, challenges your self-worth, and paints your future with shadows of the past. You see, discipline is hard, but it's productive. It builds things. It gives you control. It earns you confidence. When you do the thing you said you would do, even when you don't want to, your philosophy of the poor. You're proving to yourself that your word means something, that your goals matter, that your future is worth working for. It's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. Discipline is not punishment. It's freedom. It frees you from the emotional chaos of poor decisions. It frees you from anxiety that comes from procrastination. It frees you from the burden of having to start over again and again. It gives you structure. It sharpens your focus. And over time, it builds a life you don't have to escape from. Regret, on the other hand, is deceptive. It lets you feel comfortable now while it silently robs your future. It promises relief, but it delivers a cost you don't fully understand until it's too late. And the worst kind of regret isn't over something you tried and failed at. It's over the things you never even attempted. The chances you never took. The potential you never used. That kind of regret haunts people for decades. The truth is every decision carries a cost. The cost of discipline is paid up front. Early mornings, effort, saying no to temptation. But the payoff is long-lasting health, strength, peace of mind, personal growth. The cost of regret is delayed, but its pain lingers: missed goals, lost time, diminished confidence. So when you're faced with the option to do the hard thing or walk away, remember this: discipline weighs ounces, regret weighs tons. One you carry for a moment, the other for a lifetime. Discipline asks, what do I want most? Regret settles for, what do I want now? The future is coming either way. The only question is, will you meet it with pride or pain? Choose wisely, because the burden of discipline today is always lighter than the burden of regret tomorrow. Rest if you must, but never give up. There will be days when you're tired, physically, mentally, emotionally. Days when the weight you're carrying feels heavier than usual. Days when you've been pushing, striving, climbing, and it still feels like progress is just out of reach. And in those moments, it's okay to feel drained. It's okay to pause, to catch your breath, to rest. But hear this clearly: rest is not the same as quitting. Rest is strategic. It's recovery. It's how you regain strength so you can return to the fight. Every champion, every leader, every high achiever has had moments of rest. Not because they were weak, but because they were wise enough to understand that energy is a limited resource, and that pushing through exhaustion isn't always the best path forward. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is pause, reflect, and recharge. But what you must never do is give up. Giving up means you stop believing in the goal. You stop believing in yourself. It means letting go of the future you once said was worth fighting for. It means surrendering to doubt, fear, and fatigue, letting them win. There is no shame in needing a break. The shame is in letting temporary difficulty convince you that your dream isn't worth it. Because it is. The vision you have, the change you want, the person you're becoming. That still matters, even on the days when it's hard to remember why you started. You don't have to be strong all the time. You don't have to move at full speed every single day. Some days you'll walk. Some days you'll crawl. And yes, some days you'll need to step back and recover. But the key is that you don't stay down. You rest, but you rise. You come back to the work. You come back to the vision. You come back to yourself. The people who achieve great things aren't the ones who never faltered. They're the ones who refused to stay stuck. They learned how to rest without losing momentum. They understood that progress isn't always linear, and growth isn't always visible in the moment. But it's always happening as long as you keep showing up. So if today feels heavy, let it. Breathe. Step back. Give yourself space. Rest your body. Calm your mind. But set the intention right now. This is temporary. I will not give up. Because your future deserves that. Your potential deserves that. And more than anything, you deserve to see what happens if you don't quit. There's strength in resting, and even greater strength in returning. So rest if you must. Honor your limits, but never mistake a pause for the end of the journey. You're not done yet. Keep going. Stacking courageous. Intentional days will ultimately transform your life. A transformation doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't come from a single heroic moment or a dramatic change. Instead, it comes from the quiet power of stacking one courageous, intentional day after another. When you commit to living each day with purpose and bravery, no matter how small the actions may seem, you build something unstoppable, a momentum that grows and reshapes everything in your life. Each day you choose courage, you say no to fear and yes to growth. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's acting despite it. It's pushing forward when doubt and uncertainty try to hold you back. Maybe it's speaking up when your voice trembles, taking a risk when the outcome is unclear, or simply showing up when you want to hide. These daily acts of courage add up, layer upon layer, and become the foundation of a resilient, empowered life. Intentionality is the companion to courage. It means living with clarity about what matters to you. That's the philosophy of the poor. Instead of drifting through life reacting to whatever comes your way, you make conscious choices aligned with your goals and values. Every decision, every habit, every interaction becomes part of a bigger vision. You become the author of your story, not just a character tossed by circumstance. When you combine courage with intention, days are no longer wasted. They become meaningful steps forward. You stop waiting for motivation or perfect conditions because you understand that small, deliberate actions compound over time. One courageous conversation leads to better relationships. One intentional workout leads to better health. One focused effort leads to improved skills. The effects ripple outward in ways you can't always see immediately, but they're real and powerful. Think about the mountains you want to climb in your life. They seem daunting from the base, almost impossible. But no climber ever reaches the summit by leaping to the top. They take it one step at a time. Each foothold secured, each careful movement deliberate. Day by day, those steps build progress. So it is with your dreams and growth. Each courageous, intentional day is a foothold that brings you closer to your summit. It's important to remember that not every day will feel heroic or perfect. Some days might be tough, filled with setbacks and doubts. That's normal. But even on those days, if you choose courage and intention, even in small ways, you're still moving forward. Transformation isn't about never falling. It's about refusing to stay down. Over time, those stacked days create a new version of you. Someone stronger, wiser, more confident. Philosophy of the poor. Someone who no longer fears challenges, but meets them head on. Someone who takes responsibility for their path and recognizes their power to shape it. So, if you're wondering how change happens, here's your answer. It happens by showing up with courage and intention every day. It happens in the accumulation of tiny, brave decisions that build a life of meaning and achievement. It happens by trusting the process, even when results aren't immediate. Remember, stacking courageous in Philosophy of the Poor. Intentional days isn't just a strategy. It's a lifestyle. And that lifestyle will ultimately transform your life in ways you never imagined. NDNTAD my DR Frywiens U Do TSE Stip S. So as you step forward from this moment, remember this: life will never hand you an easier path, but it will give you the chance to become stronger, wiser, and more disciplined. The victories you seek aren't found in wishes or shortcuts. They're earned through the small, consistent actions you take every single day. Don't wait for motivation to strike. Build your discipline. Don't fear failure. Embrace it as a lesson that moves you closer to success. Avoid the easy path today so you don't carry the heavy burden of regret tomorrow. Rest when you must, but never give up. And above all, stack courageous, intentional days, because that is how transformation truly happens. The difference between who you are and who you want to be lies in what you do today. Choose progress. Choose growth. Choose to show up for yourself. And remember, your destiny is shaped by your decisions, your habits, and your persistence. Live intentionally. Work diligently. And watch how your life changes. Not by chance, but philosophy of by choice. The journey begins now. Make it count.